imeingia at the nick of time. Sorry my guys, wale wenye miss jana bana, we did it in the evening and it was quite a good show. Miss some of my people pale kina Prijin, kina Mbugua liingia akachambua. Evil World jana nilikumiss manze. But as I said, manze, we'll still go. Jana ilikuwa tu some technical hitch ili happen, ikabidi we pushed the show to 6. So as we had talked, tunasema hii wiki we are tackling mental issues. And jana we went to the history of mental issues, tukazi-compare venye between African mental issues na westernized mental issues. Nataka kuja tukarealize yenyewe in Africa we have our own way context of easy mental issues. Kuna mental issues za majuu zenye don't make sense huku. And some of them tulitaja vitu kama anorexia. You can't tell a hungry mother here ati kuna mtoto mwingine mahali ana suffer from anorexia man. Mtu hii ati haizidishi, ati hataki kukula kwa sababu inamuaffect kimwili. Can you imagine telling that to an African mother mwenye watoi wake manzee wana dedi? You imagine. Sisi baku in Africa vitu kama homosexuality tulikuwa tunazionaje? Tulikuwa tunaona ni kama hiyo ni bro, it goes against the natural order. So today we are talking about marijuana and mental issues. In Africa tumekuwa tukiekwa tukijua buda. Not even in Africa. Chenye pia tulikuja tukaletewa using marijuana inakuchizisha, inakugeuza chizi. So today in the studio tuko na Sakolia.
Tuko na mtu mwenye at least as a professional akona details zote on the marijuana, and they are actually doing a very 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 good project in the country. I think ni kitu inafaa kuwa kuwa shared in most platforms hizi kwa social media. They've been doing walikuwa wanajaribu kudecriminalize kujiua, kujinyonga, which is actually a topic naweza sema itajwe kidogo, na pia hao tena on that wanajaribu pia legalize marijuana. Not ati pia ati ile tukuvuta venye sisi tunavuta. Buda kuna venye marijuana inafaa kutumiwa. Buda hata unajua hiyo story, unajua watu hufanyagwa nini? Watu hufanyagwa hivi.
Karibu Sakolia. Karibu bana. So I want you to introduce yourself bana, utuambie some of the things manze, the projects that you guys have been doing so far, zinaenda aje nini before we enter on the mental issues na tupeleke through.
But first, as a professional, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Asante sana. My name is Tony Sikolia Kisaka. I'm the executive director at Tuvev Limited, which is an organization that is a consulting organization that helps individuals and organizations to find their futures.
Okay.
At the same time, I also wear another hat where I'm the head of strategy and member partnerships at the Coalition Action for Preventive Mental Health in Kenya.
True. I'm telling you, this guy kwanza, he's one of the most helpful person from place tunatoka. My issues mingi huku unasikiaga Sakolia, ambieni Sakolia apige simu. Let me give you a brief introduction of how tulijuana. So ilikuwa ile time ya COVID, and I had gone out of town. I had lost my uncle to COVID apparently, yeah. So we had gone out of town, tulikuwa tumeenda kumzika. So nakumbuka nikiwa huko, kuna time ilikuwa ni majioni, naambiwa, nikapigiwa tu simu, nikaambiwa King D man, yule si mtoi wako tunamuona. And then my kid is over hyper. We even gonna talk about that shit. Yani pia jana niliwaambia venye wazungu walikuja wakaeka watoi, especially the blacks, wakaekwa in antidepressants kwa sababu of their hyperness. Yani ile unadanganywa mtoi wako akona shida, hana focus.
He is hyperactive.
He's hyperactive. So walikuwa wameiweka kama hiyo hyperactive is an issue. So yeah, my kid is one of those, yeah. So napigiwa naambiwa, mtoto wako bana tumuona picha kwa group. Mtoi wako ako juu ya, our apartment hapo juu ya reception, kuna place fulani ni it's wacha niseme ni transparent, niseme ni kioo, kwa sababu nikisema ni kioo is very light. Mtu unaweza kanyaga kioo bude yanguke. So ni easy thick glasses iko hapo juu ya reception. Buda niliona hiyo picha manze, I flipped. Me in my head I flipped. I'm like, first of all, ni nani alikuwa na time ya kupiga picha mtoi bana, badala aende tu hapo ato mtoi, mbona anapiga picha anaweka? So si nikasema acha niingie group ni fuatilie before ni type. Before some typing, kumbe Sakolia had tried to get me before. Unaona, alikuwa amejaribu kumekizo attempt through my maid. Juu kila time angekam mtaani angepata nimetoka. Or maybe hata maid pia. Na the maid funny enough hakuwa analeta that story. Hakuwa analeta hizo reports to me. So for a minute he had actually wanted to talk to me. So when ilifika hiyo time, he thought we were neglecting the kid. And he was, hey bro, Sakolia had called two wanaitwa gaja watu wa child services. Alikuwa amecall 2 child services, paka ameandika hapo, I've communicated to 2 child services, I'm even on a third one. Na wote wamesema the management inafaa kwa nini. Yani you know, so me I'm there nimeingia na shanga, bro, how are you even calling child services on me when you haven't even communicated to me? Unajua yani you're my neighbor, man, unajua. So tuliletana juu, I'm telling you, tuliletana juu hapo kwa chat. Cause kwa hii story yote hatukuwa tumeconsider context ya he had tried to reach me, na pia hakuwa ameconsider context ya the mbocha hakuwa amefikisha story kwangu. So ilikuwa ni to him, alikuwa anaona nimefikishwa story but nimepuuza. Sitaki kumit na then me on the other side niko, I've never even heard of you, man, you know, as in I've never heard of you for you to even start calling for me child services, as in what the hell. So man, that's how we met with Sakolia bana. So we met with him in some naweza ita nisiite house party, because at our age we don't do house parties, we do meetups. Yeah, let's call, we had a manly meetup, joint up hivi. Wanaume wangepatana pale, mnakuja mnashare mashida zenu na realize uko solo. So tulipatana hapo, tukapatana kwa balcony. And I remember the owner of that house ndio alikuwa like, by the way, sasa nataka ujue Sakolia, cause tumekuwa tukifuata hizo drama zenu, so nataka umit Sakolia. Buda nilitoka hivi kwa balcony, tuko nje na Sakolia, of course tukipuuza hewa, tukafungiwa mlango wa balcony. Sasa sisi tujisort. It took us 5 minutes, man. As men, venye mu usema, when men meet akunaga hizi issues. Yani people sort out shit. When men meet,
feel shit.
Hakuna hati stories of feelings na nini. When men meet, kuna venye mnabonga na straightforward bana, then mnakuja mna realize, oh, it was a misunderstanding. So guys, that's how I met him, na even ndo tukajuana more. Tukakuja tukarealize actually we share a lot pia in school of thoughts, and he's doing a big part manze kwa society yetu, including venye nilikuwa nasema venye sisi tunajaribu kukopi majuu na culture zetu za Africa without kuangalia repercussions za venye tuna mix hizi vitu. Yeye sasa na organizations zake venye amesema they are looking into it, na venye like into details and how they can help out in these changes na kila kitu. So kama saizi venye tumebonga na yeye, ndio hiyo amesema kuna hiyo issue ya watu kujinyonga. You guys, do you know kujinyonga ni illegal, by the way? So to them they have another side they're approaching ile. So unataka kujinyonga, by the time ufike point unataka kujinyonga, umepitia through nini? Can you imagine umepitia through nini? Then what does the government do? Solution ya hiyo ni kuwekwa jela. So before tuingie hiyo part tu ya nini, ningetaka maybe ataje tu aongele a bit of it kiasi, then now tuingie hiyo part yao ya venye they are trying to legalize the use of medical marijuana.
I think at first before that tutaongea kidogo juu ya the history of the use in Africa, because over the past few years there's been an increase in use of marijuana, especially in African countries. Tanzania is actually placed 3rd as the countries with the highest use of marijuana. Kenya is 2nd after Tanzania. So that means it's an issue that is growing more in pertinence. So floor is yours.
All right. It's interesting that you mentioned Tanzania, because it is actually illegal to use cannabis in Tanzania, and yet it's one of the highest in terms of cannabis use in the world, rate. Not just in Africa, in the world.
Tanzania.
Yet it's illegal.
It's legal.
So that makes you, and in terms of, trafficking as well. So that makes you, ask yourself, how is that even possible? Because we've got countries where it is legal to use cannabis. It is legal to sell cannabis. Yet Tanzania rates higher than those countries. So the question is, how come? Right? And when you look at it in Africa, if you look at actually the history of cannabis, and one of the ways, or rather one of the documentaries that I really like is called Grass is Greener. It's on Netflix.
Grass is Greener.
Guys,
check out that documentary.
Yeah, you can also find it, I think, on YouTube. And it kind of gives you the history where, before cannabis was actually legal. And in the States, it was actually mostly used by the blacks.
And the Mexicans,
and not just
people
blacks.
of color.
Even before we talk about the Mexicans, the blacks were using it, and these were mostly jazz musicians, right? And when they were going to the clubs, and where it started out, you'll find that at some point the whites were saying the blacks are using cannabis to get their girls.
Okay,
that's almost similar to something I was reading in the morning, that they banned cannabis because of the propensity of their women to actually want to have sex with black men after use of the drug.
Which was a myth, because see, the thing is, mostly blacks at that time, and if you look at back in the day, when you talk about jazz, that was when jazz was really hitting, the kind of music that was there. And so people, when you go to clubs, those are the people you'll find. The blacks are the people you'll find. And, well, a number of girls possibly would go there because of that, the white girls. Yeah. And so that was one of the reasons. Then when you look at it from a big pharma perspective, right, as it is right now, if you look at, for instance, cancer patients, I was surprised to find that a while back I had someone who I was trying to help, and they had cancer. And in that interaction, I got to start interacting with very many cancer groups in this country of ours. And I was surprised to find at that particular point that within those groups, they will discuss and they will talk, and especially for those who are, in stage 4 cancer.
Going through chemotherapy.
Yes, and they were needing to use morphine. Many of them were actually opting to use cannabis. It's illegal here, yes. Yeah. But you see, for them, it is what they need, because morphine will help you in terms of pain. But it's highly addictive. Yeah. It is, it doesn't help you with your appetite. It doesn't help you with nutrition. It's the only pretty much thing it helps you with is to be able to sleep and pain. Cannabis will help you. It will do the same thing. It'll help you with pain. It'll give you an appetite. It'll give you an appetite. So with the appetite, you're able to eat. So the nutrition, right? And many other things. And, when you consider, there are many other things that it's actually able to help you with as well. It's able to help you, if you're struggling with insomnia, it's going to help you with insomnia. Anxiety, ADHD, autism, kids with epilepsy can be able to use cannabis products to be able to feel better. Okay, I know a doctor actually who has been using cannabis instead of chemotherapy to be able to treat some of their cancer patients, and it's effective. Unfortunately, these stories, you never get to hear them because people are afraid of, if I talk about it, I'll be stigmatized against. If I talk about it, I'll be targeted.
Is it basically your stigma ama ni platforms za kuiongelea ndio watu wanaogopa?
It's stigma because if you really look at it, and in some of our native languages, our tribes, cannabis is actually called medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the question is, why is it called medicine? It's not a man-made thing, right? It's not a man-made thing, yet it's called medicine.
And yet my question would be, then how did it come to be that it was criminalized, and especially with the angle of people actually, having mentally issues after the use of the drug?
If you look at it, like now, let's talk about possibly big pharma, right? How much is it to get a dose of morphine? If you really, I don't have the figures here, but then if you look at the cost of morphine, one dose, compare that to one blunt. It's 100 shillings, good quality blunt in Kenya, 100 shillings. And that is because, we talk about maybe somewhere in Nairobi. If you're in some of those places, like now, we call Bunyore that side, where it's called the epicenter of cannabis in Kenya.
the real bush iko pale Bunyore.
Exactly. If you're in those areas, it's going to be even cheaper. Okay? So the question is, if this can be able to help a cancer patient, okay? I remember my good friend Ken Okoth, and God rest his soul in eternal peace. And he was using cannabis. He got to realize about it and got to know about it later in his life as he was struggling with cancer. But it helped him. It really helped him. In fact, at some point he actually used to say that it kind of also helped him and get his life a bed, because when he started using it, he found that his body was having changes. And I remember that particular point when we were discussing, and he brought me into a group of people that he brought together and asked me and said, Tony, I want you to help me with this, and I don't know whether I'll be here until the end, but even if I'm not here, I believe that you will support this work until we ensure that we're having legalization of medicinal cannabis. Okay? And I'm not talking about recreational, I'm talking about medicinal cannabis, where we can be able to now, once it's legalized, we can be able to have research, we can be able to have a lot more of the framework, because people say it's going to be abused. It's being abused because there's no framework. There's illegal.
No regulation, there's
no
nothing.
You cannot have regulation for something that is illegal, right? We're talking about petty offenses. If you go to, many of these prisons, I remember the time we were talking with someone, and, there was this case where someone was saying, imagine you're somewhere in a party, right? Especially like maybe a girl, and you're feeling cold, and this guy gives you the jacket. And you're going home with a jacket because it's cold. They've given you the jacket, you're going home with a jacket, you're not with the person anymore. And you meet cops, and then when they search you, they find a blunt in your pocket. And you're taken in, you're taken in, you're going to court, and you're being told you're going to be in for 5 years because you're found, for possession. Yet, it wasn't even yours to start with. It's a petty offense. It's one blunt.
Unajua paka saizi the policemen are using wanaweza, they can
Precisely.
pin a blunt on you, then tell you, hey bro, we
Precisely.
found you with a bag.
Precisely.
Oh no, so
Precisely. And you see now the worst part of that, that's not even the worst part. The worst part of that is that you'll find, even because sometimes maybe indeed you had that one blunt, but you're besides that aspect, you're a law-abiding citizen, you're working, you're doing everything, you've got a family maybe, people who depend on you, and you're thrown in for 5-10 years. What are you meeting in prison? Hardened criminals. What are you getting in prison? In fact, one of the places with the greatest access to drugs is prison. So you're now getting to access that cannabis easily. You're maybe getting access to many other drugs as well. By the time you come out, you're a hardened criminal maybe. Because unfortunately, the Kenyan system does not rehabilitate. It works more towards, hardening you as a criminal, because they look at punishing you as opposed to rehabilitation. So now we're coming and saying, instead of, in fact, even before we talk about legalization of cannabis, let's talk about decriminalization of cannabis as one of the petty offenses, where we're now talking about decriminalization of petty offenses. If you're found to be using cannabis, and it's found that either you're addicted, take them to a rehabilitation center. Let's rehabilitate this person. If you're found to be using it because of a medical condition, we need to be able to have a framework where we come and say, how do we ensure that this is used in the right way?
There has to be structures that secure.
Precisely, because you see, we are talking about cannabis here, and we're saying we can't legalize it because it's bad for us. But you see, a country like Nigeria, what was happening in Nigeria? They had, in fact, I think on YouTube as well, there's a BBC documentary on the effects of codeine in Nigeria. And codeine is medicine. It is medicine, but then in Nigeria, it's a bigger problem than even cannabis.
I remember that back in campus, manze, let me just even mention the campus, kwani ni uongo, but in Daystar, of course, Daystar, it has people from all over the continent. We even had exchange programs. Now, when codeine hit Daystar, the people who used it were Nigerians.
Precisely.
It was so bad to a point we used to, unapata codeine inawekwa ndani ya pombe. We stopped even mixing that codeine with water. These people were dispensing codeine with alcohol. Mtu hata hajaenda shule stories za nini.
That's actually even a bit better. In this country, we've got now, kids, what they're doing is they take that codeine, right? And you find that they actually put, and just maybe 5 ml, 10 ml of codeine, and they put it in there, you know, in the behind, in their butts.
What the hell?
Because
in their ass?
it gets absorbed. Ladies are putting it in the private parts. It gets absorbed so fast, and that's why you find, you know, you're finding people and they don't smell of medicine. They don't smell of alcohol, but they are so drunk,
intoxicated.
You've reminded me of a story. Ile vipote ndio wacha tusome chenye at least watu wanasema hapa hivi. Okay, kuna mwenye anasema Guarana has said maneno mingi ni ya nini? Aseme haraka. Ni nzuri bana ama mbaya? Sasa Kolia tuambie, ni mzuri ama mbaya? But yeye ndio hiyo mmemsikia is answered you. We go to Charlie Jason anasema it's a cause of mental health, especially in those who misuse it. Just start from detaching from people, and from there it's much mental illness all through. So he's agreed that cannabis is actually a cause of mental health, but he has a point. Kwa wale wenye wana misuse and they don't use it for any purpose, yani katusema medicinal purpose. Gift amesema good morning to the #1 radio station. Yeah, welcome and the big up Gift pale hivyo. Today we start the conversation on a high note. Yeah, manze, venye tu mnajua hapa hivi it's all about conversations, manze. Let's start conversations. Alafu out of those conversations is when now we build up sasa hizo manini za structure. Kwa Monty Matata amesema marijuana is a medicine, but big pharma can't make money on it. So they frown on it. Makes sense? Okay, yeah.
True.
Yeah, true. That's Monty Matata. Eriko Yugi. Eriko Yugi karibu, man. It's a perspective within an African culture that weed causes mental problems. Being a consumer for the last 20 years, my mental stability, according to my psychiatrist, is superb. Bro, you even went to a psychiatrist. Yeah, you get it. Thank you. But so, kuna hii comment chenye umesema hapo hivyo. Let me tell you a story. Kuna dem alikuja akapeana story yake. Actually, ilikuwa I think Twitter. She got hooked to cocaine. Na hakuwa anatumia cocaine. But she was dating this Nigerian guy who was angepaka cocaine kwa diki yake. Then fucks her. So the chick alikuwa anashangaa manze, yani she can't get over this nigga. Unajua yani yako ile akitulia tu hivi, akitulia kidogo, where is this nigga? So unapata the same thing venye umesema na stories za codeine. Saizi unajua watu hawataki kuzitumia huku nini ama kutembea nayo. Unapata mtu akitoka home ameitumia ameweka kwa enema. Or venye Nigerians how are doing it right now, taking our women, and how do they take them sexually, bro? Ndio saizi vitu zinaanza kukama out juu kiangalia mahali hizi issues zinatoka. Kama saizi tukisema kama TZ na weed venye. So it's rampant in TZ. Mtu yote ukienda TZ, that thing is rampant. I remember I was there over holiday, Zanzibar, and I was telling V, okay, the weed was so rampant in a point, tulikuwa club, alafu hao wanaita fegi. They mix it with tobacco. So tukiwa club man, yani everyone ako tu hapa tu. Una roll tu imewashwa, watu wamewasha wanatulia, hawaipendi ati yo plain. They want to take it with tobacco. Wanasema wakichukua plain wanalegea. So they prefer it with tobacco. But unaona back here in Kenya, sisi hatuna hizo, cause no one is talking, hatuna hizo as we are coping a lot. Hiyo ndio chenye nasema about in Kenya. In Kenya, as our nini is just coping. Ukiangalia watu wengi ukiongelea about legalization of marijuana, hakuna mtu anafikiria on the health side. Unaona? Venye unaleta hiyo aspect ya legalization venye inasaidia cancer patients, and it's may your friend soul rest in peace, manze. Umesema hiyo story
Yeah, cannot call former MP Kibra.
Yeah, manze. As in that guy aliangalia a bigger picture. It was not about starting a project ati for him. Unaona venye mtu ametaja hapa stories za big pharma. Big pharma, unajua projects mingi zikifanyika ni how they are benefiting from it.
True.
So hii stigma yenye tuko nayo hata tukienda hadi hiyo kwa history. It's not ati Africans tulikuwa tunaona kama marijuana inatuchizisha. Unajua it's something that majuu hawange capitalize on it. The whites couldn't capitalize on it. So wangefanya aje? The only way I can control this person is control their culture. Unaona? Kama hiyo ya states za blacks na nini, by the time they were illegalizing marijuana, issue ilikuwa walisema Mexicans wamekuja na culture zao, wakakuja wanaanza kutumia hii marijuana, inawafanya wanakuwa violent, inawafanya wanakuwa hadi wakaweka people of color. Yet in real sense states ilikuwa inajulikana kama cannabis. Unajua, na people wako wanajua wako nazo kwa cabinets zao, juu hiyo ndio ilikuwa inatumika kama medicine. It was among the most used in medicine, cannabis. So venye unasema hiyo story ya stigma, ndio it makes sense, but na feel same venye na mental issues venye si tuko na mental issues kama men, venye si uambiwa unaogopa kuongea about mental issues zako. Unajua hiyo pia ni stigma tu tuliekewa tu. True. I feel it's a matter of a platform. Hatuna platform ya watu kuongea.
As it is to, okay, people have said slowly talking about it. I'll actually share with you a link that maybe you might be able to put onto your website. It's a link. It's a link that is talking about a petition for decriminalization of cannabis. And one of the things that we're trying to do is that we're trying to put it into place so that we can have platforms like this where people can start talking about this. You know, if something that people are not talking about, you can never really change it. Because the moment ukisema kitu, people will fight it. But when you start talking and saying, look, that person that you're saying is a madman. Why is it that wakitumia cannabis, they calm down? When people use cannabis, and it's actually factual, it's been shown that when people use cannabis, they calm down. When people use alcohol, they become aggressive. So which is the more dangerous one?
And which actually formed the basis of our poll on Instagram today, because we were asking, does marijuana is marijuana actually the effect or the genesis of all these mental illnesses that we're having around? And yes, by the time we were getting onto this show, 67% of the people who took the poll said, I think unaweza angalia tena.
There's a poll pale, mnaweza enda mtuambie nimeuliza hapo hivyo, marijuana is kama ni cause of mental health. By the time we were entering the show, it was actually 73% walikuwa wamesema it's not a cause. Na hivyo venye umesema, you know, us back in the day, and I don't think hiyo ni kitu tulikuja tukaekewa. You know, about marijuana, ni kitu tulikuja tukaekewa. Hapaka nimesema ni kechi because I've thought ahead venye there's a point you've said, by the way, I've never ever thought it like that. Like most of our mother tongue, jina ya marijuana is medicine. Most of our mother tongue. You know, I've just thought about it venye umeisema. Because in Kijaka, it's yath. So ni kitu tulikuja tukaambiwa, because I remember tukiwa watoi, ulikuwa ukiona msee mwenye akona issues. The first thing tunaambiwa ni huyo mtu anatumiaga bangi. Janjaga, nyasore, sijui nini. Tulikuwa tunaambiwa hivyo. So you know, the stigma started from there, and I don't think it's African. That is a foreign induced mentality. Unajua? Because hata hiyo kitambo, for how long sisi tulitamani kwenda majuu. Mi hata ilifika point, I remember, was it last year in one of my shows, I was like, where was my grandfather when these slaves were being taken, man? You know? So easy I would have been a black American, but maybe sielewi hiyo context ya huko.
I see. But you know, funny thing, and I actually remember this. Not a story being told, but I remember this. I'm Luya.
Yeah, okay. No wonder the Bunyore. Watu wa Bunyore mnajuaga.
Wanyore.
From Bunyore, but that's combined. But you see, siukula kumbe white ants.
Yeah. Hata Luos even eat. Yeah.
Now, traditionally, if you want to get those white ants, what they used to do, and those mamas, those guys, ilikuwa wanakuja anavuta bangi, and then anapuliza into those holes. That's what used to make those things come out.
Oh, I never.
So, that tells you cannot say, these people cannot come and say it's bad when they were using it to get those termites. Na hiyo termite silikuwa mboga.
Buda
Wanakula nao mpaka ugali.
Bro, that thing hata saizi unaweza iandaa na ugali.
If you look at it, you used to say that if mtoto akiwa na mumps, mumps, mpulizie
bangi.
So you get to a place and you start asking what happened to
us. It was more of medicine than a recreational thing.
Exactly.
Sasa ilikuwa tunaiendea hata I think pia
in rituals as well. They were using it in rituals as well.
It's like the way Red Indians are doing with the shrooms
and opium.
Exactly. So right now the question is, why is it that opium? Okay, if you're found with it, it's supposed to be illegal. But then, there are many medicines called opioids because
opioids. Yeah.
There's actually a lot of medication that is used that is cannabis based. Right now in Kenya, cannabis, hemp, it's illegal to have. But go to Carrefour and just go through the beauty products and see how many of them have hemp.
Even some of the clothes.
Oil or CBD oil shown on the labels. So the question is, even like, okay, right now I was looking at looking to amend the narcotics law, and they're saying, if you're found with 1 gram and above, you've broken the law. 1 gram is 3 blunts, actually more than 3 blunts, because a blunt is about 0.3.
Yeah.
So 3 blunts is not even a gram. But if you're found with even 1 blunt, you'll find yourself in court and you look at 5+ years. Why? Because they do not understand. The people within the system do not even understand what that 1 gram entails.
But realistically speaking, are we ready to take on marijuana legalization as a country?
The question, okay, that's a good question. What's happening in Uganda?
Uganda is currently exporting marijuana.
Precisely.
It's bro, wait. Uganda, marijuana is legal.
Yes, they're growing it, they're exporting it. I'm actually in WhatsApp groups with people in Uganda who are doing this.
You didn't know that?
And not just people.
Na mjaitisha road trip ya Uganda.
Not just that. I see them talking about it, and you find the people from government as well in those groups, and they're discussing it. Right? So from an economic perspective, they are actually going, they're actually doing great already. You look at Zimbabwe the other day, right? South Africa, I've had people from South Africa who've come here who've got farms in South Africa. They actually have farms, and they're growing, and they're saying, Kenya is so ripe for this. Our weather, the climate, the environment is very good for cannabis. You'll get one of the best breeds globally will come from here. But unfortunately, because it's illegal, now, you see, we will keep fighting it and come to the party late, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so all these other countries, Lesotho, Malawi, they will be, exporting it. They'll be getting economic gains from there. We're struggling right now. Look at the cost of living in Kenya right now. And we're paying debts, right?
That are accumulating.
If we were able to come and say, okay, now we're going to be able to legalize it, right? Or even decriminalize it. So let's start with decriminalization. And so we are, with decriminalization, we will now allow a lot more research to be done within the country on what are the benefits from a medicinal perspective, because everything has pros and cons. So what are the benefits from a medicinal perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. We might start finding ourselves, the other year when the president was talking about, being able to even have, some of the COVID medication being manufactured in Kenya. I have a question. Last year in December, Pfizer is known for
production.
Vaccine.
Yeah, vaccine.
Okay, it's a big company. It's got all these other things. But one of the things that it's been known for is that it's one of the first companies to be able to come up with a COVID vaccine, right? Mm-hmm. In December, they spent $67 million to buy a cannabis company. Why? And the moment they bought it in December. In January, news went out that cannabis can be able to cure or prevent you from COVID.
Exactly, which is why I was telling you, Diesel, and you were arguing with me. Mazet, thank you very much. I told Diesel.
And I have never argued about cannabis, bro.
I've said this before.
I've never argued about cannabis. If that one I would have remembered. Me, when it comes to cannabis, I'd rather just listen and be like, oh, it can do that.
You know, cause pia tukiangalia side nyingine, me personally venye nimejua cannabis, me started using cannabis. Nilipatiwa na one of my uncles, side ya my mom, and ilipata kama I'd lost my mom. Now when I'd lost my mom, I really didn't want to interact with people. Not ati, well, sijui kan kisema itakuwa sad, but not that ati juu mamangu amekufa ati niko sad, but ni juu ya kuonewa huruma. Unajua ukienda unapata yani paka ati ukitaka maji ni kama tu umevunjika mkono, you know. So I really didn't want that.
It makes you feel worse.
Like as in, you know, I know it's affecting you that my mom has died because she's your relative somehow, you know. So able to go in a way that please give me some space. Na hiyo time I was in class 6, nikajichuja. An uncle of mine nakumbuka alikuja akaniambia, unajua nini? Juu tunaona hata ulalagi. Just try that thing. And I remember I was so scared of it. In my head I was like, what do you mean? Alafu ndio ni cheesy because mi chenye nimekuwa nikijua watu wenye wanatumia weed bana wamecheesy. Manzi I used that thing, Buddha. I was so paranoid. I'll never be sober. I was so paranoid. Mi nimekaa hapo paka nauliza watu alafu what have you guys done to my life? You know, what have you guys done to my life? Na kuanzia hapo henceforth, the moment nakumbuka nilirudi sober, easy thoughts za mother zikarudi. So I went on using it so that nijieke place yani ile, so that I don't deal with this situation when I'm sober hivi. And marijuana helped me a lot by there to deal with death ya mother. It really really helped me a lot. Because nakumbuka hata shule nilikuwa sijui nime flip bro, I couldn't concentrate. But nikivuta niingie daro, I'm so calm yani, ile paka ni unaanza kuangalia pole pole tu tukisonga. When I entered high school, nikakuja nikarealize most people are not smoking ati because of a certain reason. Wengine ni peer pressure. You know, wengine tu ni recreational. Na the more inakatazwa, the more people are going for it. Wengine by the are using it juu ya poverty. Mapedi wengi by the ni juu hakuna job. Na hii kitu inasonga. People want this thing. It's really really moving. Ukienda Mombasa, we can't deny that thing, man. Mombasa, there is more drug abuse. Hata hiyo cannabis is like a cigarette.
You know, it's surprising that Portugal was it in 2000 decriminalized all narcotics.
Huh?
All.
Portugal.
Yes.
So it means I can go for a trip in Portugal.
Vizuri. Sasa kuna Portugal, kuna Uganda, sasa kuna Portugal.
About Portugal. And you know, interestingly enough, you know, the 10-15 years later when they were looking at and researching and seeing what are the effects, the rate of HIV went down, criminal rates went down, drug use went down. So the question is, what happened? Walipoambia watu fanyeni vile mnataka.
Mimi nina swali. You want to tell me, Tony? Our leaders tuko nao, our leaders tunachagua. You want to tell me watu waoni hii situation venye tunaiona?
Do you know how many people in parliament use cannabis? Many of them who struggling with cancer and whatever, they're using cannabis.
And so why is it?
But they will not want to be associated with it. There's a time I even had a fight with one of the legislators from parliament. I will not mention the name, but just after Ken Okol had passed on, because see, with Ken we had already even given a notice to parliament, to the speaker, that there's this bill we're working on and it's going to come, cannabis, the medicinal cannabis bill. Unfortunately, he passed on before we finished preparing it, and someone, a number of them were saying, we'll be able to support this. And I had a fight, a verbal fight, not insults and everything, but then it was just putting someone to task and saying, you're a legislator, you profess that you use this, and you said you're going to be able to support it in parliament, but then, just because you're not seeing any gain to yourself personally, you're not pushing this. You're pushing other agendas, which are not maybe as important.
The big pharma mentality.
And it's unfortunate because many of these guys, they've got the medical, they've got the medical covers. They go out of the country for treatment. They use cannabis for their treatment. but then they will never speak about it. They will not support it.
Why is that?
Why is that, bro?
Because
that's
they
what I'm
fear,
asking.
they
Yani.
fear, see, and that's why we're coming and trying to also have awareness within the country, because they fear that if my constituents go to realize that I use cannabis, because of the stigma, they might not vote for me. Okay, so it is more about self-preservation. I will use it, but I will not tell people I'm using it.
Okay, me feel yoni. It's more of we don't know what's happening on the ground. Actually, it's just assumptions. Juu kiangalia kama kwa ground. Ukuju upate either your dad or someone of mwenye kona big position anatumia. It's always so encouraging. Iko like, if umse anaweza tumia na bado I hold that position.
I was actually surprised. There's someone who they don't use. They're not used. They've never used. They don't use at all. But at some point, apparently one of their relatives was unwell, and the relative was supposed to be taken to India for surgery, cancer. And so we were talking, and so this person comes and tells me, by the way, I was able to get someone who's able to give me some of these things, cannabis, that I can be able to use on my relative, because from the research I've seen, from the things people are talking about, I've never used that. I don't think I'll ever use. But then, we're at a place where we need to find other options, because, our relative is getting worse. So I said, okay, you tell me how it goes. About 2-3 weeks later, so this person chats me up and says, hey, how are you doing? And I'm saying, I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I'm like, we're doing okay. I'm like, oh, so how's your relative doing? Says, by the way, I put them on cannabis, and I can see the results, and they're really, I can see they're actually really improving. I said, oh, that's really nice. So did you guys even ever go for the, to India for the surgery? He says, yes, we are actually in India right now. And I said, wait, you're in India right now. So where did you get cannabis in India? He says, no, I carried it from Nairobi. I said, how did you carry it from Nairobi?
Yeah.
And I said, and by the way, this is someone who, I can't even mention them because they're a public figure, they're a known figure. And they say, by the way, when I saw my relative suffering and the way my relative was suffering, even because I told them, if you're caught with things like that at the airport, that is directly trafficking. It says it was worth the risk, because what I'd seen my relative go through, it was worth the risk, me being caught with this thing and being thrown in for trafficking. But I had to try and make sure that I helped my relative.
Yani it had reached that point.
Now you see, this is someone who, if I were to mention the name, you'll be in shock. It will actually, it'll be news. It's a news story. But yet they're saying, at this point, I'm going to try this. And they're back here, they're doing very well. Besides the surgery and whatever else they're doing, they're actually using cannabis, and it's helping them as well.
I think in this situation, can you imagine venye mtu anaweza fika, someone anaweza fika, yani ndio maana nasema people are not attached to the reality on ground. If unaweza fika position, you're not only risking your own career, you're even risking your own family, unaona. If unaweza fika hapo, can you imagine what that person has gone through? Ndio ufike yani paka useme let me travel with weed. And si ati najaribu kuchanua watu, but hata hizi airport zetu si ati ziko na nini za ku sense weed. What happens ukisikia mtu ameshikwa airport, ni mtu amekuwa akifuatwa, ni mtu amekuwa akikuwa followed up. But kupush nini ile, not kupush but moving with it as a personal for personal use. Watu wengi sana, mimi hata personally niko na watu wengine wakitoka Gamaju. Mimi first things first, kuna loud mu atuma inaitwa Purple Kush kwa wale wenye wanajua manze, and bro they always bring for me. At first nilikuwa na shanga, how did you move? Like I just put it in my wallet, So guys, we are going on a break, and it's so interesting. Na saizi ndio mnaelewa ground iko aje. And what Sakoli is actually really highlighting here ni si ati hizi vitu si tunaongelea huku kwa ground watu wenye kujua hawajui. It's just the implementation that hapa hivi inaleta shida. It's implementation, which venye amesema ndio to drop the stigma. And we always say every day, man, to drop the stigma we have to start with a conversation. It has to start with a conversation. Ndio watu sasa waingie kwa tuanze ku accept kwanza. Juu saizi huwezi kujua uambie mtu, mimi jaribu niende kuambia madhangu ati mama unajua hiki kitu ni Ulijoin Illuminati lini mtoto wangu yawa? So yeah, guys, we are coming back after the break. Saizi tutasoma zingine pale kwa nini. Wale wenye wako www.rogueradio.live, msisahau the number to call is 0784 924 100 0784 924 100. Kama uwezi bonga huko unaweza tupata pale kwa social media where you can give us your opinions.